Hey pilots, this is Craig again with Paraglider Service USA, and today we're going to go over line repairs. When you damage a line, there's a couple ways we can go about replacing them. One is you can have us install it, or another shop install it, or you can mail order the lines through us or another shop. And the cost savings by installing it yourself is substantially cheaper than if you were to ship it to a shop. To give you an example, if I go to line repairs here, you mail order a line, you can give us 3 codes to order: quantity, line code, and color, and it's $33 each. If you give us the quantity, line code, color, line type, and line length, it's $28 each, and then you install it yourself. Whereas if we install it, it's $40 each for a lower line installed, $45 each for midline installed, and $50 each for an upper line installed. And then you got to ship the glider up and back to us, so that gets quite costly. So even if you're not familiar with how to do it, it almost behooves you to take the time and effort and patience to do it yourself. The good news is we have a page here called Line Fit. If you go there, we explain it all from A to Z. How to install your mail order, how to order, how to install it, what we call line fit appropriately, and how to reduce your chances of tangling and crossing other lines. And we got video clips on each of these 3 segments, or what I call the 3 pitfalls, the way to be wary of when you mail order lines. The first one is to make sure that you order the right line. I mean, it sounds simple, but it's not as simple as it. It's easy to get confused, let's put it that way. So if you go to a website for your make and model, go to your glider, let's say it's a Buzz Z7, scroll down, there's going to be a section for downloads or manuals, and some of them have all the line data for the specific lines on the user manuals. Some have it, Ozone has what's called the line chart, and others you're just going to have to email them through their contact form and give them the line reference code, and then they'll give you the line specifics, as long as you make sure you give the make, model, and the size. The size of your glider matters here. Okay, and so you may have to wait a day or 2 to get the information, but at least you'll have that, and you can save $5 a line when you give us the line type and line length coupled with the line reference code. So line reference code, this you pop open the rigging diagram. Some manufacturers call it line map, some call it line I forget this, line map, line diagram, rigging diagram, and they got different names. But anyhow, they're all the same sense. They all lay out each line segment, and they have a line code for each line segment. Keep in mind these codes can be confusing at times because they may include Roman numerals and numbers, as well as uppercase letters and lowercase letters. So you want to make sure that you mimic or copy the exact code that's on there. Let me give an example here. If I go to another make and model, this is a UP glider. And if you can see here, if I order C5, well, and I write lowercase c5, and it's really uppercase C5 that I want, I'm going to get the wrong line segment. You know, they got a lowercase a7, uppercase a7, you know, BR5 comes uppercase, it also comes lowercase. You just got to be careful. And then sometimes though the main lines will say Roman numerals. Say AR3, but instead of the 3, it's the 3 Roman numerals instead, and where there's that same reference code somewhere else for another line segment. So it just behooves you to double, triple check in that regard. So you make sure it's the right location, you triple check on your glider, you count over from the center, count over from the wingtip, count over the lines, and make sure you make your damaged line where it's located is assured that the reference code you're providing us or another service shop is correct. So that's the number 1 pitfall to be wary of. And the other one is line fitting. Let's go over that real quick here. Not many people are familiar with this. They always think you need to order the opposite line as well so you can keep symmetry, but that's not true. Let me go over that real quickly. All lines have an initial surge of shrinkage within the first 20 to 50, 75 hours, and then they slow down the process of shrinkage, but they continue to shrink. And so if you've got an existing line that's gone through that initial surge and you buy a new line and match the existing line, well, that new line hasn't gone through its initial surge of shrinkage, and when it does, now it's shorter than the existing line, and those surrounding it are out of balance in regards to what they're supposed to be in relationship to one another, and so you've made things worse. So if it's 0 to 150 hours, we're going to match factory length. We're going to give the factory, so you can get the factory length. And so if I go to ozone here and I go to the line chart, open that up, and I make sure I get the right size of the glider down here on the tabs. Let's say I got a size MS. Let's say it's line B10. The line segment is right here. It's 8001 series 50 kilograms orange and B10, and its length is 254. You know, and every manufacturer will have these line charts. They'll call them something different. They'll arrange them differently. There's just a whole slew of things. You just have to take the time to reference them correctly in order to save yourself, you know, lines. Now, if you don't want to go through that module, that's why we offer the aspect of just giving me the quantity, the line code, and the color. And then, you know, it costs you a little bit more, but we'll do that effort and take that time to look up all the specifics on it and whatnot and get the right segment for you, length and line type. Now, if your glider is over 150 hours, then what we're going to ask you to do is to measure that glider, and we have a link here as well as a link on the line fit page that'll show you how to go about measuring an existing line that's, you know, it's beyond 150 hours. The shrinkage is substantial, so the factory length is going to be too long, way too long to line fit it, to loop it down. And that's, I'm not sure if I went over that real quick. I've done it so many times. But you know, when it's 0 to 150 hours, you know, we're going to give you the factory length, but the chances are it's going to be a little longer, but not much longer, but it's going to be longer. So you're going to have to loop it down. And so we provide the loops, and you would pull the line side by side, taut, about 10, 11 pounds of tension, 5 kilograms worth of tension, and measure their length by eye, and then loop it down at the riser so that they're equal to the existing line length, and that way you fitted it appropriately to your glider. You do the main lines, they're longer, and the shrinkage is going to be a little bit more than the mid and upper lines. So you may not have to fit the mid and upper lines in comparison because the shrinkage there is much less. But in this case, if you do, we also have a link there on how to do the line-to-line connections as well, and how to add an extra loop there. So we give you that information if need be. And that way you can fit it appropriately, and that way when the glider is trimmed to later on, and those newer lines gone through the initial shrinkage, then they will, the shop, like in my case, I would go ahead and let those loops out so that we can get it back to where they should be. But at least it's not a lost cause, because there's times where guys buy a new line and they match the existing that's already gone through its initial surge of shrinkage. Now the loon line's going through that shrinkage surge, and it's way below the length of the existing line, and now that line, the new line's got to be replaced. So it's just not something you want to go through after spending that money to begin with. So anyhow, that's the second pitfall to be wary of, is making sure you're fitting it appropriately. And the third one is to make sure that you're not tangling or crossing the rows and lines. So we have another video clip here that you would hit this link, and it would show you how to go about arranging your lines. You'd open half the glider, you'd lift A and B rows if you're replacing the C row, move the brake lines off to the side, and that way what you're looking at is just the C row on half the glider, and the less likelihood of tangling them. And then as you take it apart, you're going to try to mimic putting it back together as the way you took it apart. And if you forget, well, you know, the good news is you just go to the rigging diagram to review, have that in front of you, and then let's say you forgot you were taking this segment here apart, and as you put it back together, somehow you got confused. Well, you go to the other side and refresh your memory. That's all intact and together, and that'll help you as well. Of course, there's other pilot friends out there you could also hit up, say, hey, help me, I haven't done this before, have you, blah, blah, blah. They'll help you out, you know. There's always someone out there, you know. So anyhow, that's the second pitfall is line fitting, or excuse me, tangle. I was going over the last pitfall. I mean, it was the crossing or tangling lines. So we go over how to do that with less likelihood of crossing them. And then, of course, then you'll kite it, inflate it, do a wall, and look at your lines before you bring it overhead. You know, so that'll be the third check. You know, you've done it in your garage or your living room, whatever. And once you take it out to fly, you want to do a real good pre-flight check as well to make sure that the order's right as well, and nothing's crossed in that regard. So hopefully that helps you when you're ordering lines. For line replacements, you can save some money by doing it yourself, but you got to be careful that you order the right line, you use the right reference code, and that you fit it accordingly, and then you don't tangle them. So with all those things in mind, you forget what I'm telling you, you go to our webpage, paragliderservice.usa.com, go to line fit, and everything that I went over today is all right there in the video links as well. Again, this paragliderserviceusa.com, and then you just pick one of our web pages. You don't have to order from us. You could always use this as a reference and still order from somebody else if you'd like. It's okay with us. We're just here to help. Have a good day. Fly safe out there.